Doing a tour of the digestive system. We're going to be returning back to the nasal structures model because it also includes digestive stuff. If you guys want to come around and get a video yourself or just look at it closely, you can. Okay, I'm going to be asking the different types of teeth. These are all molars. These last two are molars. The ones in front of it are called premolars. The long one is called canines, and the ones in front are called incisors. Okay, everybody got that? I may say name the type of tooth, all right? And this model is going to be on there, but I'm going to ask you to key it yourself. There is no key, but you guys are going to need to find a key for it. There's two halves for it. So once you go online and try to key it, that's going to be the thing that I'm asking you to turn in on Monday, is a key for the molar tooth model, okay? So you guys just have to find a image online that looks really similar to this, that has all the same structures, or take a photo, label it yourself. It needs to be typed, so no handwriting. So this, the key for this model will be due on Monday, okay? So that I will be asking the different parts of a tooth. Okay, the other side of this model, I'm getting ahead of myself. The other side of this model, we focused on olfactory portions for the respiratory, correct, and special senses. For respiratory, there was a couple of things I forgot to tell you about, so this will go on to respiratory as well. These are external nares or nostrils. I don't know if I pointed that out to you guys. I did, but maybe not on this model. These are ligaments, elastic ligaments of the nose that I'm going to be asking you about as well. These are given in the QR code app, so make sure that you know the names of these two elastic cartilages of the nose that allow your nose to wiggle. Okay, nasal cavity, I think I've given you before, but a couple of other structures here that I may ask. At the very tip of this is the entrance to the eustachian tube. And this region here, the region just behind the nose, right in here, the region is called the nasopharynx. Nasopharynx, and that should be keyed on this model, again, from the QR code, nasopharynx. So if I say name the region, if it's behind your nose, it's nasopharynx, okay? And then the areas up here, these are, my brain just blanked, sinuses. These are the ethmoid sinuses, Over here on the right, this is the frontal sinus. This is still part of respiratory, so I'm adding some stuff to respiratory. So frontal sinus, ethmoid sinuses. And then on this side, I asked for the ligaments, the cartilages and the teeth, and I think that is it for this model. And then I told you guys need to key the tooth model that is due on Monday. Okay, on to the liver. The liver does have a key here. It's not my favorite, so I'll be talking to you about some of the structures that it may have different or doesn't really show very clearly. One of the structures that doesn't show very clearly is number 2, which is called the falciform ligament. They're calling it the, the ligamentous ligaments of the liver, which is really clumsy. So anything white here, it's keyed on the other side as 2. But the better place that I'm going to ask it, if it's white, is called the falciform ligament, and that's what holds the liver in place. The rest of these things are keyed. You may notice that one of these blood vessels here is kind of purple in color. And you might ask yourself, well, it's either blue or red. How can it be purple? The reason why it's purple is because it is what is called a portal vein. And a portal vein is different than a normal artery or vein. Now, normally arteries take oxygenated blood out to the tissues or deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs, right? And then the opposite material comes back to the heart, right? But in a portal vein, blood doesn't go to or from the heart. It goes from one capillary bed to another capillary bed, which is really unusual. Now, why is that significant? It's because this blood vessel is bringing blood in from your digestive tract. Why does it do that? And this is part of one of my lectures. Your digestive tract is picking up food, right? Food molecules. Well, the liver wants a chance to store those food molecules before it hits your general circulation so that your blood sugar doesn't spike. So the portal system, what it does is delivers blood from the digestive tract to the liver, gives the liver a chance to extract it from the blood using insulin, believe it or not, using insulin, and then stores it as starch in the liver. So that's why this vessel looks purple. So it's what is a portal vein. So a hepatic portal vein, I believe, is what this one is. But look it up. And then this large green thing is the gallbladder. And then the tube up above it is the cystic duct. So everything else here is keyed. Use the key that is provided for that. Okay, next, the stomach. I probably will not be asking the different muscle layers, but you should find kind of interesting that the muscles go in, these are smooth muscles, they go in various directions so that it allows the stomach to squeeze in various dimensions, pushing the blood around, the food around. And the reason why that's significant is kind of imagine if you stuffed a Ziploc full of unmixed materials and you wanted to mix it, you'd need a little bit of slack, but then you'd kind of squeeze it with your hand and you could mix it inside the Ziploc. And so these different fiber orientations of the stomach allow mixing within the stomach. A common misconception, the main job of the stomach is not for digestion. It is for sterilizing the food and for denaturing the proteins so that protein digestion can occur fully in the intestines. So just for your understanding. Okay, talking about the different areas of the stomach, I'll do this from the outside. The body is the central area here. Anything in the center is called the body. So if I put a pin right in the middle, that's the body. Near the narrowing area is called the antrum. So if I name this area where it's narrowed, it's the antrum. My brain's blanking on this region here. I'll have to come back to it. My brain's just totally blanking on this area. Anyway, I'll come back to it. So let's go on the inside. That sucks. All right. The area right at the end of the stomach, the narrowest portion is called the pylorus, and it is marked by the pyloric sphincter. The pyloric sphincter is a little ring of muscle, and what that does is it regulates chyme, which is food mixed with digestive juices, and into the small intestine. I'm still trying to remember this region here, but I'll figure it out. Okay, the little folds and wrinkles that you see on the inside are called rugae, R-U-G-A-E. And what they do is they allow the stomach to expand out when you eat. Kind of like pleats in a dress or any other pleated structure, allows expansion without stretching of the surface, because if the surface stretches, then acid and protein digesting enzymes would get to the stomach lining. And thanks to Blanca, she reminded me the name of this region here. So it's called the fundus. So you're going to find a fundus is any kind of raised area above the entrance to a hollow structure. Now, the reason why I mention that is because there's also a fundus on the uterus. The uterus has a fundus. So when you see the fallopian tubes coming in, any area above that would also be called the fundus. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you again. Okay, anything else here? I think that does it for the stomach. This one does not have a key, but use my tour as your key. Okay, moving back to the pancreas and spleen model. I don't think I've asked you guys spleen yet. So spleen could come back. It is really part of the immune system, but I may be asking spleen. One of the things I haven't asked yet is I haven't asked the gallbladder or the cystic duct or the common bile duct. So make sure that you look for anything green there are the bile ducts that lead from the gallbladder, which holds bile. Bile is used for digesting fats, really emulsifying fats so that they can be digested. And then this area here, all of the area of the small intestine that you see in this model is called the duodenum or duodenum. Okay, so I will name this region / structure. And by the way, when you see the slash in a question, that means kind of and or. It doesn't mean I'm looking for two completely separate things. It's just a way to clarify the question. And if you ever do have a question about that on final, just ask. Mr. Sage, do you need two separate things, or are you just trying to clarify? Normally it's a clarification. Okay, I think that's it for new stuff there. And let's go ahead and move on to the torso. On the side here, this salivary gland is called the parotid salivary gland. And over on the other side is another salivary gland called the sublingual. And lengua in Spanish means tongue, so sublingual means under the tongue. So you have parotid, your cheek, and sublingual under your tongue, and those are both salivary glands. And then, of course, your tongue is there. That came up on the last lab exam. One of the problems is I can't really get to the oropharynx, which is the area right behind the tongue. But if I did put a pin way in the back behind the tongue and say, name the region, that would be called the oropharynx. As we said, the nasopharynx was right behind the nose. The oropharynx is right behind the tongue as an oral. And then laryngopharynx would be the area just above the vocal cords. And I'm gonna see if I can find that here in the rest of the model. Okay, moving down. I showed most of you guys this part here for the respiratory. So we're gonna go ahead and go down here right behind the heart. That's the esophagus, okay? Since it is right behind the heart, people often use that term heartburn, meaning it's usually due to acid reflux from the stomach into the esophagus. And it feels like heartburning because the esophagus is directly behind the heart. Okay, so the esophagus there. It's gonna lead into the stomach, which I have already gone over. All the same structures that I pointed out in the other stomach model are visible here. So you would also wanna know them here. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this structure here, but this is the transverse colon, because food is moving from your right, the patient's right, your left as facing it, over to the patient's left, moving into the descending colon. So this is called the transverse colon. I'm not gonna ask you about the ligament in the center. Okay, going a little bit deeper, I'm gonna have to take the small intestine off. I'm not gonna ask you specifically where each one is, but I'm gonna ask you, what are the two different regions that you would see on this model? And the two regions of the small intestine that you would see on this model are called the ileum and jejunum. So I'll be asking you about the ileum and jejunum. So if I put a pin here and say, name the two regions of this structure, ileum and jejunum. It's just really hard to tell visually where one begins and the other ends. Yeah, they're not showing it there. The appendix, why are they not showing it here? Anyway, we'll just keep moving. I don't see it here. I'll have to see if I can find the variform appendix. I'm just not seeing it where I want to see it. Okay, so let's just keep moving here. We have the small intestine is coming into the large intestine. So if you remove this little cover, this little structure here is type of papilla, but really its name is the ileocecal valve. So this is the ileum, and this is the cecum, which is another name for the large intestine. So this little structure that connects small intestine to large intestine is called the ileocecal valve, and I may ask for what is the name of the structure, and it looks kind of like one of the papilla that you see earlier in the digestive tract. Okay, then moving upwards, this is the ascending colon, because the food's moving upward away from this valve up towards the transverse colon. And then as it moves across, then we have here the descending colon moving downward. And then it kind of changes direction and forms an S. And so S gives the name sigmoid. So sigmoid colon is as soon as it makes its turn, it goes to the beginning of the sigmoid colon, kind of an S-shaped region. I'm gonna remove this. Here it is. Okay, on the back here, you can see the variform appendix is just this little teeny tiny tail thing. Believe it or not, it is not useless. It stores bacteria that help you digest, and it's especially important because if you do something that kind of kills a lot of the beneficial bacteria in your large intestine, some of the bacteria can survive in the variform appendix and then recolonize your colon. Having good colon bacteria is really important to overall health. I don't know if you guys have caught that. It's kind of a big deal now. Okay, so that was the beginning of the sigmoid colon, and there's the remainder of the sigmoid colon, and the rectum and anus are going to be visible when we get to the models on the reproductive tract. But since it's part of the same test, I will be going over it when I show you the reproductive models. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Digestive. I think that's it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.